I always forget. Why
And we're
can't
live.
I get that into
Now
my
remember,
head?
you don't want to say that we're live right away.
I said
Any
it.
reason why I can't remember why I never remember the order? There's something there's a little hole in my
I
head
can't
somewhere.
parse that sentence, Gerald. I know it made sense. I think you said it properly.
Oh, okay.
I can't for the life of me follow those words.
Okay, sorry.
Is there any reason why I can't remember the order? I don't know what you said.
Okay. Because I can never. I always have to have Annie's tell me which order we go in, and yet you two seem to know intuitively, and it's obvious because and so anyway.
Because Annie's picked next week's story, so she's
Yeah,
going to say her name next.
There's two ANs, you see, and that confuses me, which is why you have to change your name, Andy. So anyway,
that's fair.
Shall we do this podcast?
So, Gerald, when do you go today?
Hey?
Do you go?
I've written it down. I go last.
Okay, cool. Cool.
It's on a piece of paper here. It's just Andy, Annie's, Gerald. I have lots of pieces of paper with 3 names on them in various orders.
You might notice a pattern if you analyze it.
Oh, that's a good point. Right. Okay, then. Let's do this.
This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story, once a week. I'm Andy.
I'm Anise.
And I'm Gerald.
You know what? I have a hard time saying the word literary.
Me too.
Yeah.
The R's kind of run together, huh?
I thought it was a British thing because you just say literary and
literary.
It's literary. But
I can hear it. There's some things I say that I can't hear.
Okay. Literary.
This week we read A Short Biography of a Conscious Chair by Renan Bernardo. And you should read it too, I think. I think the world should read it.
Okay, I have to summarize it now.
I thought that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Just go read it, then I don't need to summarize it. That's it. We've accomplished so much. So it's about a chair. It's not like a clever pun or anything. It's about a conscious chair. It's his biography, so buckle up. He was born from a carpenter named Anatolia who had magic hands and brought him to life, or at least, sapience, I guess. But unfortunately, recently after he was completed, she passed away. Her son sold him to some aunt. The aunt sold him to Wood and Depot, which is actually a cool name for like a wooden furniture store. Wooden Depot. I like it. For 20 reals, which I had to look up because that kind of sucks. That Brazilian currency has its own name, but doesn't have its own symbol. That's not fair. It's just R and a dollar sign. I know Australian currency is just like, is it AUS in a dollar sign? But they're called Australian dollars. So like, whatever. But it's a real. There's no real symbol. It's just our dollar sign. Yeah, sucks. Brazil got the short end of that one. I'm sorry. And then eventually he gets purchased from this, I don't know, shitty furniture warehouse by Eduardo. I'm going to mess up his name. Amarim.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Yeah? You say he.
I am ascribing gender to this chair.
Oh,
you know what? And that's how I read him the whole time. That's definitely coming from me and not from the chair. So point. I'm going to keep saying that because I don't think I'll be able to stop myself. But that's me. That's not from
maybe
the
it's
story.
a sort of generic he.
Like, well, yeah, yeah, you should be a lot more conscious of your generic keys.
Chairs in Spanish are feminine. I wonder if they also are in Portuguese. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Ooh.
I don't think there's a definite article. Yeah, it says.
Okay, we derailed the summary with Let's go.
Oh, sorry.
So he goes and lives with this guy who's like an old
Mhm.
retired rich guy who apparently
Mhm.
does a lot of woodworking and wood preservation and restoration. And we later learn was also a carpenter himself in his time.
Mhm.
And a
had
sullen
hands.
teenager, Leandro.
Mhm.
And eventually it turns out, oh man, I missed the most important part. The cryptic phrase Anatolia said was, she's going to love you. And he never found out who she was or what that meant. So that sort of guided this chair's life. She's going to love you. Ah. And then Joanna, Eduardo's estranged granddaughter, comes back very briefly and then leaves again for Portugal to finish her thesis. But like, I don't know, Leandro grows up and goes through some girlfriends and some boyfriends, and then like Jeff seems real cool. That's Leandro's like current boyfriend at the end of the story. Jeff seems real nice, stops in and checks on Eduardo when he gets older. And eventually, after a small kitchen fire, we learn there was a house fire in Eduardo's past, and he ran in and saved a stool first because the stool was also conscious. He too had magic hands and had brought a stool to life, and then went back in to save Leandro and Joanna's parents and failed at that because he wasted too much time saving the stool and they died. And that's why Joanna is not a big fan.
Right. Okay. And then
Right. And then eventually Eduardo dies because humans get old and chairs last longer. Then he goes to live with Leandro and Jeff. They adopt a daughter. She eventually sits down and breaks him. But before his legs break, he realizes he's part of this family. And then he like goes to die in a warehouse somewhere.
back at Wooden Depot.
Yeah.
He goes
Yeah.
back.
But like not like on the showroom floor. They rent a special storage place for him.
Yeah, which was confusing.
Well, he's still part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. The end.
They put him away in
Yeah.
a nursing home for chairs.
Yeah. Chair nursing home.
Yes. Cool.
No nursing, but that might also be why I said a nursing home. Okay, so Gerald, what did you think of the story overall?
Wow. Yeah. I wanted to hate it. I really did. I thought, I looked at it last week and I thought, what on earth is this? And I thought this is going to be but actually I didn't hate it. I don't understand it. There's some very strange bits and some very weird bits, like considering somebody dropping toast onto it breakfast.
Ooh. Always lands butter side down. You know what they
yeah,
say
it
about
does.
toast.
Yeah. So they say anyway, and which is a bit strange. So how does that work? I don't know. But anyway, so it was. It's a funny story. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would recommend anybody read it. I don't know. Waiting for insight. It's weird. It's a weird story, and the basic premise just is like like right. Here we go. The trees in Lord of the Rings and Shakespeare move. Right, trees can move. Trees are living things, so there's a bit of a thing there. But okay, they're living things, and why can't they move? Chairs made of wood, and it's dead, and it's a thing. So there's basically a thing in my head. I'm talking here and not saying anything interesting, so I'll just shut up. Yeah, what did I think of it? It's weird and not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Thank you.
That's a win. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah.
From Gerald.
The bar is very low.
Well, because it's, I don't know. Is it magical realism? It's somehow conversant with a magical realism tradition. I don't know where it fits in that conversation exactly. And so I thought Gerald would hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sort of fits the magical realism sort of definition, doesn't it? It's a real thing, but it has magic properties. So I think it's sort of magic. Do we think conscious chair is a magic chair? It's not really a magic chair. So
I mean, they had magic hands. That's
yeah, the carpenters did. Yeah. So sorry,
I mean, the idea
Anish,
of something coming from like dead wood becoming alive made me think a bit of like Pinocchio, right? Had like yeah.
But the chair didn't want to be a real boy. He just wanted to be a chair.
Yeah. But there's like the super skilled craftsmen that can like breathe life into their craft.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, so the story was on the longer side of a short story, and yet it wasn't. It went by pretty quickly. Like there at no point did I feel like this was a slog or I want to stop. It kept going, which is a good sign. It just kind of kept reading, and it was easy to read. But by the end of it, the questions I had was like, why would you tell the story from the point of view of a random chair and not one of the Amarims? Why do you even need to start with Anatolia? So everything that has to do with the Amarims is self-contained and made sense. And then as soon as I come out to She Will Love You and the Anatolia part, I'm like, that part makes a lot less sense to me. And I can't make that part fit into it. That's where I struggle.
Yeah. The only thing I was coming back to is the She Will Love You and Sarah at the end, the little baby girl.
But that doesn't really happen.
Yeah. I don't know. And the author doesn't like force a connection there. Force a connection sounds bad, but like if the author tied that in more.
I mean, the way that I read She Will Love You is also that part of why this particular chair, because there was other things in Anatolia's workshop that were not alive. So why did this particular chair come to life is because she was really laboring over it, fixing every little flaw, because she was intentionally going to give it to someone and she died before she could give it.
Right.
But then how do I tie that into the whole Amarim story? Like
that the chair just wanted to be part of a family.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the chair talks about how it was made. So there was
before it was
consciousness before it was a chair, which is a bit strange, but
well, magic hands, man. I will say, I thought I was going to go one of two ways with this story. I was like, okay, either this is going to be like, it's going to tickle me throughout, and whether I know what's going on or not, I'll end up tickled, and that's great. Or it's going to be like a hell of a slog. And why did the first paragraph pull me in? I don't know. I liked how it was written, but I can't point at anything. I was trying to like reread the first paragraph again to like pull out, oh, this sentence is delightful.
I think it's doing a weird thing very well. Like if you suddenly shift to the point of view of like a chair or something, it's very easy to just make that confusing, especially as a first paragraph. And it wasn't confusing. And that's hard to pull off, I think. Like when you start with something that could very easily just feel like some kind of gimmick, but you still make it land, like that's hard. And he makes it land very quickly. You very quickly are centered in where you are.
Yeah.
And it's new. It feels novel.
Yeah, I think it does that sort of thing. It's written well. It's written in a sort of fairly straightforward fashion. It's not too flowery. So that and like Anise, I thought it was going to be a slog, and yet when I looked at it last week, I was about a quarter of the way through it before I realised it's really something fun. And I think it's a bit like I always remember when Breaking Bad started, and there was that trailer that came out. I didn't know anything about Breaking Bad. There was a trailer with a guy driving an RV through a desert with bottles and dead bodies in the back, and he ends up standing in his underpants with a gun with police sirens. And you think, what? I've got to watch this because I have no idea what's going on, but it looks interesting. And I think it's a bit like that. You don't know what's going on, but you don't know how it's going to end up, but you think it seems interesting and it's well done and it sort of drags you in.
Yeah. In my quest to find a connection between Eduardo and Anatolia, the only thing I could kind of come up with is sort of like they poured everything into their art, even to the detriment of like their lives to some extent. Like Eduardo is not valuing a stool above his own son. That's not what's happening in that moment. It's just he believes the stool is alive. He knows this chair is alive or conscious or whatever it is. And like, I can kind of see why in the moment you don't know how quickly the house is going to go down.
Right.
And the other two are adults with legs who could presumably move. Like, there's a part of you that's like, let me just move the thing that can't move quickly, right? Like, you can see how in the moment the choices he made.
If the stool had been his other second wheelchair bound son, and then his able-bodied son was upset. I think we're not supposed to say able-bodied anymore.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
we not.
But
Okay.
I try to be attentive. I don't always get it right.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, exactly. Like, yes.
The only thing I could
way-
think of is that maybe if it if Eduardo was maybe an apprentice of Anatolia or something, there was some connection that way, but it's not mentioned and it's not hinted at, so I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think just both of them were like very consumed by that passion. Also, I guessed the stool thing like way in advance before the reveal, which was a bit like, okay, I was kind of hoping for like it was like very heavily foreshadowed, but yeah. Like, he saved.
You knew it was going to be a stool?
Yeah, there was like a hint way earlier on. Yeah, I'd have to find it again, but it was like I almost was told the full story, but then it was cut off. Like, you were told the full story. It's a stool that he saved. I was like, yeah. Also, Joanna, come on, chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit. Yeah.
Bit much.
But then she does think that her grandfather didn't save her mother and father when he could have done.
But even if you're not a person who thinks that stools are conscious and think that is insane, don't understand how someone could put furniture, like, there's no part of you as an adult that's like, it is a chaotic moment where people were, you know what I'm saying? Like, you tend to give people, well, maybe not when you're too close to it, though. It's true. From some distance, you can give people a lot of leeway for decisions that they made during some chaos or tragedy or something like that. But when you're super close, maybe you don't. That's like when a child dies from an accident, the parents like try to pick it apart and then it leads to a divorce, like that kind of thing.
And rationalize it. And I think from her point of view, it's a stool. It's an old piece of furniture. Why did he say that she doesn't understand? And so to her, he saved a rickety old piece of furniture instead of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sad. We don't have the stool anymore. We don't know what happened to the stool afterwards.
Oh.
Stool's not in the house.
Gee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all sold.
Could have also just died the way the chair died.
Yeah, but the chair only died because the specifically trained wood preservation guy died. Like,
yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But also it seems like over time it's just going to happen. Like, eventually they just sort of fade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah.
Boiled him every day.
Yeah.
You.
What did you guys think of, like, the way that in order to animate a chair, which is inanimate and it can't walk, it's like it would like bristle and splinter and feel its wood rattle and like.
I loved it. It was beautiful.
For what it was, and if you say, okay, there's a conscious chair, okay, don't rationalize it. It is what it is. Then I think it was really interesting. The thing about the dropped toast jarred with me, even having made that jump across to say, okay, we'll go along with it. Just considering a piece of toast dropped on it as breakfast.
Do you not like butter, Gerald?
Yes, I do like butter. I like toast, and I had some for breakfast this morning. But it's a chair. But anyway.
But I get what Gerald's saying. Like, those little details, it's like it has whimsy, but those whimsical details also grounded the specific thing, which I think worked. It described the wine as vinegary, the wine that was spilled on it. Also, just the thing where it was like, and in case you're wondering how I could even see what was happening at the table when someone was sitting on me, is because chairs can see from all around. Like, every part of a chair is an eye.
Every part of a chair has eyes. Yeah. I love that little parenthetical of like, by the way.
By the way, I know you're probably like, how could you see anything if someone's sitting on you? Yeah.
Because if no one's sitting on you, it's obvious how you see. But when someone sits on you, you might think your vision would be obscured. No. Okay, I'll admit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I did like the chair's voice. Like it was like kind of proper. It had lots of judgments, but then it would like sometimes make a judgment, then walk that judgment back a little bit, like it knows it's being too much. Just what a choice.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Proper, somewhat snooty chair.
I just found a bit highlighted now is that, and here I have to add something important, like he's telling us the story. Anyway, let's not worry about how he's doing that. How he or she or it. There was a sash window right behind me with varnish briskly applied to its casing to hide its true age. I call it makeup for wooden beings. I thought, okay, yeah, that's sort of that sort of parallel. It makes sense in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like it had a very clear voice that was funny and I guess like my question is, why would you choose to do it from the point of view of a chair and not from some other character? But if you're gonna do it, you have to make the chair feel this alive for it to work. So while I may not understand the choice, I don't hate it either because we pulled it off. The author pulled it off.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the chair knows who Metallica is, which is interesting.
You'd have to with Leandro sitting on you for all those years.
Yes. I guess.
Also, why is Jeff so nice?
Jeff's just real nice, right?
He's the nicest person ever. Like, you don't expect, Jeff's just coming over, taking care of Eduardo when Leandro can't. Like, okay, very nice man. Yeah. Making food for him.
Yep.
Nice guy, yep. Everyone should have a Jeff in their life. Probably.
No, Leandro's going to law school, though.
Yeah.
We know how Andy feels about that.
Maybe he could do. Maybe he's got time to figure it out. It's fine.
All right. Anything else we want to say before rating?
It's kind of interesting. We've talked a lot about it, and it's not to say this is rubbish and useless and we don't like it. We're all sort of we're all in what is it? I don't know, enamored by it. But we're all sort of on board with it, and talking about it. So it did that well. I have no idea how I'm going to rate this.
Yeah, the ratings exactly. I have no complaints. There's a lot of things that confuse me, but the story did a great job of not making me care about that. I don't know how the author pulled that off.
Yeah, that's what I'm most confused by. Is like I can't point to many specific things, but it's just overall well polished, right? But it's polished so well that it's smooth. I can't grip
like
anything.
the chair.
It's a chair pun.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Give Andy a bonus point for that.
and I feel like a lot of times when a story feels like it's doing a gimmick or we don't like, it's very easy to annoy a reader when you confuse them, but that's not happening here. I think it's the whimsy. I think it's the voice. Also, there's something about the pacing. It just kind of moves, which is nice. Like at no point do you feel like you're pushing through it.
Yeah, my summary was so much more of a slog than reading the story was.
Yes.
It's hard to summarize. But I don't know. It just kind of works.
And in a way, you can't get angry with a chair as a character. You can't get pissed off with it or frustrated by it because it's a chair, and it's just telling you his story, its story.
Yeah, you can get annoyed with the author if the author doesn't do a good job and you think it's just a gimmick, though, and that didn't happen. But I will say, for all that it didn't in any way. Like, even though I don't have any negative reactions to it, I also wouldn't necessarily recommend it because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no.
So it's kind of just, basically, it doesn't feel like time wasted.
No,
I'm super intrigued to read other stuff by this author. I was actually looking at them earlier, and they have equally intriguing titles. So,
I'm glad I read it. I think it wasn't a slog. I'm not annoyed. I didn't feel it was time wasted or anything. It's just a funny old story. Yeah, I'm going to rate it as 4 because I enjoyed reading it. I didn't understand anything, but enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, I'm also a 4.
Okay.
I'm going to come up to a 5, but for exactly the same reasons.
Cool.
I rate my enjoyment higher.
Yes. Excellent.
Okay. Well, next week we are reading A Fight with a Cannon by Victor Hugo. This was recommended by a friend of mine, so I didn't even have to go hunting for a story.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
But before you go, tell us about your favorite sentient chair in our Facebook discussion group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers. A podcast needs care just like finely crafted furniture. Dab some shiny new oil on your review on iTunes and support our podcast on patreon.com/literary roadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the fruit-themed dining chairs in your life. Until next time, read a good story.
Yay.